Where is it going? Starship 28 returns to a test stand. Static fire soon? Booster 10 returns to the Mega Bay. What could be the reason? Nova C's journey continues and Rocket Lab launches a satellite that will photograph space debris. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It. Let's dive right in. Starship updates. As February draws to a close, it's clear that this month has been packed with intriguing developments. Now we're seeing even more plot twists. Where's Booster 10? What changed with the flame trench at Massey's? Follow me and let's find out together. After the rollout and stacking of Booster 10 and Ship 28, SpaceX attempted 2 wet dress rehearsals. While these tests didn't proceed like a typical WDR, this doesn't necessarily mean something went wrong. Whether it was a part of the initial plan or not, on February 18th, Ship 28 was destacked and placed on a transport stand. It looks like our speculations were right in the end, and SpaceX is gearing up for an additional static fire test, likely to evaluate the recently swapped engines. Consequently, the upper stage was transported to Pad B, the sole SpaceX pad currently capable of testing the ship's engines. Usually, lifting the prototype onto the testing stand involves a crane attachment known as the squid, designed to connect to lifting or ground handling points on the prototype's nose cone. However, with this ship being essentially ready for flight, its lifting points had been sealed off quite some time ago. And that's why a few days prior, a specialized stand arrived at the launch site equipped with a new ship lifting device. The main drawback of this new lifter is its tendency to damage tiles around the lifting points, which may hint that this isn't the final version of this tool. With the prototype now stationed at the test stand, there's a chance that by the time you're watching this, it has already conducted a full 6-engine static fire. Yes! That's because a roll closure was scheduled for both the 22nd and the 23rd of February. Fingers crossed that everything went as planned. While additional testing of the ship was expected, no one was prepared for a plot twist with Super Heavy Booster 10. On February 19th, the prototype was removed from the orbital launch mount. This wasn't out of the ordinary, as there is still some work to be done within the launch deck itself. Yet, in a surprising development captured by our photographer John, the prototype began its journey back towards the production site, eventually making its way into the first Mega Bay. You might wonder why SpaceX would decide to roll back a prototype that seemed nearly ready for flight. There could be a plethora of reasons. One speculation, for example, is that this could have something to do with adding anti-slosh baffles. When cryogenic fuel enters the tanks of a Starship, the propellant's mass and temperature cause slight fluctuations in the stack's diameter. Due to these dimensional changes, all components, including the baffles, must be designed to accommodate such variations. It's possible that SpaceX's engineers want to evaluate how the baffles performed with propellant in the tanks. Another theory relates to the hot staging ring. After Ship 28 was placed on top of the booster for the first time, it was destacked less than 24 hours later. Then workers performed some checks on the ring itself before the prototype was lifted once again. The ring may require some work that simply can't be done at the launch site. It is important to remember that what might seem like setbacks or errors from our perspective could be nothing more than a new test or change in the plan. If we looked at other rocket programs with the same intensity, we'd probably also see a similar pattern of weird tests and decisions that seem puzzling. It just so happens that due to our coverage, you can see all those little changes where on other projects they largely stay hidden. Despite the temporary destacking of the Starship, there are also indications that the third launch won't encounter any major delays. Following the booster's removal, Elon Musk mentioned in an interview that SpaceX is still aiming for a launch in March. He specifically mentioned that the goal is to proceed with the mission before March 8th, leaving us with a short 2-week window. In the same interview, Musk also shared his expectations on the mission's success, estimating that Starship has a 70 to 80% chance of reaching orbit on this attempt. Here's a little clue. Did you know that on February 20th, a seemingly ordinary truck arrived arrived at the launch site, but its cargo was far from mundane. This vehicle is certified to transport explosives, indicating it was likely delivering the charges for the Flight Termination System, or FTS. Massive thanks to Starship Gazer for these images. These charges are a critical safety feature designed to puncture the rocket's fuel tanks, immediately preventing the engines from generating thrust. To date, this system has been activated on both previous flights, though we all hope its use won't be necessary during flight number 3. What is your prediction? Will the third orbital attempt be the fully successful one, or are we in for another fireworks show? Share your thoughts in the comments. Regardless of the outcome of the third flight, one thing is clear. After this mission, SpaceX will lay the foundations for a second orbital launch tower at Starbase. The exact location for this new tower? Yes. The exact location for this new tower still remains a mystery, but a bird's eye view courtesy of Redline Helicopter Tours reveals that once the location is chosen, assembling the tower will be a swift process. Let's start with Section 8. What began as a single column at the beginning of February quickly transformed into a section almost ready for stacking, now situated at the Sanchez site within Starbase. A glance at the existing tower shows that except for Section 9, the upper sections lack significant piping. This means that except for adding all the bolts and nuts, there is not much left to be done with this segment. Adjacent to Section 8, we can find 3 pillars destined to form the top of the tower, Section 9. A fourth pillar, essential to completing this top section, is situated slightly apart near a horizontal beam needed to mount the pulley system for Mechazilla. With more tower footings in place, the assembly of this section should begin soon. Although not all the tower segments are currently at Starbase, this doesn't mean their whereabouts are unknown. The journey of the 7th segment is quite a long one. It began its assembly at the Roberts Road facility, after which it was transported on a barge from Florida to the port of Brownsville towards last year's end. And it has remained there since, awaiting eventual relocation to the Sanchez site for storage. The voyage of the next 4 segments, constructed at Roberts Road as well, must have been quite a logistical challenge. Opting for efficiency, SpaceX decided to ship these segments all at once. They embarked on their journey on February 8th, and coincidentally, we were able to capture them from the air on February 19th as they made their arrival at the port of Brownsville. Nope, John doesn't sleep in the helicopter. These segments too are destined for the Sanchez site, where they will either be stored or equipped with necessary additional hardware as required. The puzzle is nearly complete, with only 2 sections missing. And these remaining pieces are likely still at the Roberts Road facility, poised for their eventual transport to Starbase, again using a barge. It's incredible how much you can discover just by looking at things from the air. How about you go see all of this for yourself? Book your own ride at Starbase and see these things in person, or just enjoy one of the most incredible views in the world. Go to redlineheli.com/Felix, you'll find the link in the description as well. I promise you won't ever forget this. Now, before we continue with the Starship news, here's a quick word from our sponsor, We Are Gaming.
Thanks, Felix. As you know, work always has me traveling, so when I have downtime, I love playing this free RPG on my phone. But this game is not just any free RPG. With over 800 unique collectible champions and billions of ways to customize them, I can build specialized teams to defeat fierce bosses and save the day. New champions and updates are added every month. And until March 5th, the worlds of Rage, Shadow Legends, and Monster Hunter are colliding. Join me and millions of people as we try to collect 5 Monster Hunter themed legendary champions. Log in for 7 days to get the Rathalos Blademaster legendary champion for free and compete in special game events to collect the other 4 Monster Hunter themed champions. Maximize your team's power with Rathalos' heavy attacks, combined with Vogoth for team heals and my Drake for extra turns. I've been enjoying steamrolling my competition. Discover the thrilling Cursed City update, boasting 100 challenges and stages and the chance to battle 2 bosses at once. Complete city quests for a mythical reward. So don't delay. Download Raid now using our link in the description and start working towards your free Rathalos Blademaster champion. Get special bonuses with our link and gain 500,000 silver, energy, and chicken, and an epic Juliana who is available at level 15 as a boss obliterating attack type warrior with a magic affinity. Find us in game. I'm YTJ and Felix is YFelix. Join our clan WAI5 and we'll face roll bosses together. Hit our link in the description and let's play. Back to you, Felix.
Thank you, TJ. Back to space. I can't wait to see the second tower at Starbase. However, now we see even more interesting progress regarding the ship's static fire stand at Massey's, and I'm running out of air. Let's take a closer look together. Upon entering the site, one of the first changes you'll notice is the relocation of the so-called can crusher, a device used for conducting stress tests on prototypes. This move was necessary for the teams to work on the freshly poured concrete pad. What is intriguing about this pad is the unique configuration of embed plates it features. It was definitely designed to support something really heavy, though its specific purpose remains a mystery for now. Venturing deeper into the site, we can see that the liquid oxygen subcoolers were recently attached to the lock section of the tank farm. Pipe stands adjacent to them pretty clearly show how the lock side will connect to the underground piping. Yet the elephant in the room here is the colossal structure right next to these subcoolers. This component is part of the flame diverter, which will be placed in the trench located at the back of Massey's. Parts for this ramp were previously situated next to this frame, suggesting it may also be a part of the diverter. One theory on how these parts could go together comes from Ryan Hansen. According to him, the Kit Kat frame could be positioned on top at an angle with the ramp section at its base. He also made a detailed thread on X discussing the entire flame diverter, which is definitely worth a read. Be sure to check it out, a link is in the description. Regarding managing the rocket exhaust during testing, SpaceX might adopt one of several strategies. One approach could involve attaching metal plates to the deflector and dousing them with water from above during the test. Alternatively, a network of pipes could be laid on top of the framework through which water would be sprayed around the structure. Such a system is used, for example, by relativity space. Regardless of the chosen design, it's likely to involve some form of water cooling. This water has to be stored somewhere, which could be the reason behind the addition of the piles behind the methane tank farm. So the team might be preparing the ground to create a water delivery system similar to the one situated behind the launch tower, although a lot smaller. Finally, there is the trench itself. Originally, we thought the test stand would be placed at the site's back, directing exhaust towards the existing infrastructure. However, the installation of 4 massive embeds suggests a different plan. These embeds aren't designed to be merely a structural support of the outer wall, they indicate something with significant weight will be placed above them, likely the static fire test stand itself. Consequently, it appears the exhaust direction will be oriented towards the end of Massey's, pointing to the Mexican border. Hopefully, they won't mind some steam. It is also important to clarify that what appears to be the base of the diverter is in fact not the final floor. This shallow section is a temporary construction, and the actual trench will be significantly deeper once completed. When do you anticipate the first static fire test will occur at Massey's? In the next 2 to 3 months, or perhaps even longer? Place your bets in the comments. Yeah. Now you've watched more than half the video and you're still watching. Thank you, this means you like it. We've looked into our channel metrics and there are over 2 million returning monthly viewers who have not subscribed yet. Help us improve the channel even further by double checking that you've hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our updates. While you're at it, give us a like and become a wise supporter for exclusive SpaceX updates. With it, you get access to daily Starbase photo galleries, including satellite, aerial and ground photos of SpaceX's progress and countless other extras on top. And no matter how much you decide to give, everyone gets the same supporter content and access. You decide what you want to give. Check our new website as well, launch previews, road closures, the latest weather report and our multi-stream viewer, whataboutit.space. The link to our Patreon page and the new website is in the description. Thanks to all the supporters who help lift the production quality further and further. We can't thank you enough. You rock. Returning to the news, today's journey takes us once more to cislunar space, where we closely follow the trajectory of the Nova Sea lander, also known as Odysseus, as it makes its historic approach towards the moon. Picking up from where we left off, we had just witnessed the groundbreaking moment when Nova Sea's Methalox engine was ignited in space for the first time during the engine commissioning phase. Now we've got some more details regarding this burn. The engine produced up to 4,000 newtons of thrust in a time window of 21 seconds. This allowed the spacecraft to change its delta V by 21 meters per second within an error margin of just 0.8 meters per second. Whoa, Felix, delta what? Delta V. It is a fancy term for a change in velocity, which is the basis for most maneuvers in orbital mechanics. Okay, how do we tackle this? How about this? Imagine you're driving a car. If you have, let's say, 4 gallons of fuel left and your car is consuming 1 gallon per 25 miles, you know that you can travel 100 miles before you run out of fuel, right? Delta V tells you how much you can change your velocity with the available fuel. For example, if you know that your rocket has 10,000 meters per second of delta V available, you know that you can make it from the ground to low Earth orbit. That's because such a maneuver requires a change in velocity of around 9,400 meters per second. Of course, the car analogy is not a 100% apples to apples comparison, as there is no air resistance in space to slow you down. Once you accelerate, you keep going at the speed, hence why we use meters per second. Orbital mechanics gets quite complicated really fast, but understanding the term delta V is an important step. After the commissioning burn, Nova C conducted the first trajectory correction, and then on February 20th, Odysseus successfully executed its second correction burn. It lasted 8 seconds and went perfectly. In fact, the burn was so precise that the mission team decided to forego the third and final correction burn. However, this is where the difficult part of the mission begins. What remains is the lunar orbit insertion burn. This critical maneuver aims to circularize Odysseus' orbit around the moon, reaching an altitude of 100 kilometers or 62 miles. Following this, the engine will ignite one final time to set the spacecraft on a crash trajectory with the silver glow. Do not worry, it is called a crash trajectory because it would crash if nothing else happened. If all goes according to the plan though, the lander will slow down enough not to smash into the lunar surface. Instead, the plan is to have it gently touching down. Given the mission's short trajectory, updates pour in by the minute. The landing was scheduled for 4:49 p.m. Central Time on February 22nd, mere hours before this episode goes live. Regardless of the outcome, rest assured we will dive deep into the details in the next episode.
Today, for the first time in more than a half century, the U.S. has returned to the moon.
Shifting our focus back to lower orbits, Rocket Lab recently completed a fascinating mission. So far, the second most launched US rocket is having a pretty good year. Following a successful launch on January 31st, it just took 18 days for another Electron rocket to stand ready at Launch Complex 1B on New Zealand's Mahia Peninsula. If you are a regular What About It viewer, you should already know what the lack of silver and red accents on the boosters mean. Correct, no recovery attempt this time. Nonetheless, the launch went flawlessly, deploying a 150 kilogram or 330 pound satellite into a sun-synchronous orbit. The mission, aptly named on closer inspection, carried a satellite known as Active Debris Removal by Astroscale Japan, or ADRAS-J for short. Now, to understand the reasoning behind this name, we have to go back 15 years. It is January 23rd, 2009. Shortly before 4 a.m., a certain rocket is launched with 8 satellites on board. This rocket was Japan's H-2A, which successfully reached orbit. Due to the mass of payload, it was decided that the second stage wouldn't be deorbited. 15 years later, it is still drifting and tumbling through space. As the volume of objects launched into orbit continues to grow, the issue of space debris, including spent rocket stages, becomes increasingly depressing. Although the potential for a Kessler syndrome scenario, a cascade of collisions rendering space inaccessible for generations, is often overstated, we really need a way to eliminate space trash. This is where ADRAS-J comes into play. Following its launch, the satellite will now spend approximately a month verifying that all its systems are working properly. It will then use its onboard thrusters to maneuver within 100 meters or 330 feet of the aforementioned H-2A upper stage. Initially, the satellite will observe the target from a fixed point, capturing images every 30 seconds. Then it will orbit the debris, taking even more pictures. And the ultimate goal is for the satellite to approach within 1 meter or 3.3 feet of the debris, continuously taking pictures and using a LiDAR scanner to map it. This process will enable the creation of a detailed 3D model of the trash, which could be used in figuring out a strategy to capture it. Okay, but wouldn't it be just easier to ask JAXA for the rocket's model instead of conducting a special mission? Well, yes, but that's not the point. This is only a test mission. In reality, space debris can have irregular shapes, especially if it previously collided with another object. Mapping the target will allow it to bring down any types of unwanted objects, whether it be old rocket parts or satellites that spun out of control. To illustrate what to expect from this mission, here's an image of the target captured by a satellite from Heuer space. The best part is that images captured by ADRAS-J will have even better detail and higher resolution. One risk associated with such a mission is that, ironically, should any part of the mission fail, the spacecraft itself could end up as space debris. However, if all goes according to plan, a follow-up mission named ADRAS-J2 will be launched. This mission will be equipped with a robotic arm, aiming not only to capture the debris identified earlier, but also potentially to lower its orbit to allow re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. I cannot wait to see the result. There is nothing better than pictures of actual hardware in space, not to mention that it will help develop tech that in the future will become crucial for space exploration. That's it for today. Remember to smash the like button, subscribe for more awesome content. This is what fuels the algorithm and helps us immensely. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. A link is in the description. And if you want to train your space IQ even further, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. This critical maneuver aims to circularize. While additional testing of the ship was expected, no one was prepared. No one was repeated. Captured by our photographer John, the prototype configuration unique. Coincidentally, I like this word.